You are now tuned in.
You're now listening to
To
the
the
highly flavored
to the
podcast. This is the highly flavored podcast, guys. We
now
are on
tuned
episode
into
number
Highly.
4. Episode number 4 of the highly flavored
You are
podcast,
now
guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in.
You are now tuned in. You are now tuned in to the
highly flavored podcast.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? How are you feeling today? It is a beautiful Tuesday here in Philly. Well, actually, it's not that beautiful. It's raining, so it's a little nasty outside. But we are here, highly flavored podcast, episode number 4. I'm your host, Eddie Royal. I am here. I got my Instagram live up and popping. I got my Facebook live up and popping. And we're just gonna get into, pretty much a recap of the past week, entertainment wise. Probably go off on a couple tangents and things like that. But besides that, we are going to keep it moving and get everything out there. Most of the things you probably already know. Most of the things maybe some of the things you don't know. As far as your celebrities and things like that going on, but we're going to get into it. So we're gonna just dive right into one of the biggest stories of the past week was Cat Williams. He was on a radio show, I believe. I want to say it's Frank and Wanda in the morning or something like that. I don't know exactly where that's located. I'm not well versed on a lot of radio shows now, but Cat Williams was on there. They were talking about like they're doing a comedy tour. They're setting up a comedy tour and things like that. And they go on and ask him questions. Then they start talking about Netflix. And he says he had ended up getting a deal the same day that Monique went on about her tangent about being lowballed for a number. And he goes on to say, speak on Tiffany Haddish, which was the biggest news coming from that interview. He goes speaking on Tiffany Haddish and says that she didn't really prove that she can be funny, like as far as a stand-up act, and a lot of people they didn't really take that so well. Some did, some agreed, but then a lot of people were like, nah, like that's not cool. Maybe he's hating on her bag and all that kind of stuff like that. So in my opinion, I'm like, he's kind of right. I didn't know who Tiffany Haddish was. And there's no disrespect to her craft. I believe she's funny. I think she's, funny on the things that she do. I think she's funny in the shows and the movies and stuff like that. I think she's funny. But I didn't know who she was till maybe 2 years ago or something like that. So I understand where he's coming from as far as she hasn't proven herself to be like funny as far as stand up, like a touring act. She hasn't proven herself to be a touring act. So to get a special from Netflix, and I'm not sure of all the details. I don't know if it's a comedy stand-up special or it's just a bag to provide them with some exclusive content, like maybe a Netflix series or something like that. So I'm not sure what that is. I'm assuming based on the conversation that he was having at the radio station that it's a stand-up special, and I haven't even seen her do any type of stand-up, and maybe I'm just not looking. Maybe I honestly I don't really care to see her do stand up. I think she's funny in what she does. I think she's funny on movies. I think she's funny, given a script. I think her personality is what shines through, or her comedic personality is what shines through during her profession. So, but I've never seen her do any type of stand up. So at this point, I have to agree with Cat Williams because I haven't seen it. I don't know if Tiffany Haddish can be funny for an hour, providing quality content on stage, and it's only her. I'm not sure about that. I don't know because I have yet to see it from her, and so I think that's a fair assessment. But it goes on. A lot of of course, he's going to get his backlash of social media, and people are going to try to see how Tiffany Haddish feels about it and things like that. So they finally meet up there at the Emmys. Cat Williams went to an Emmy, and he's seen talking to Tiffany Haddish, seemingly squash whatever beef the internet created, because they both came out and said that it was never an issue. They never had a problem with each other, and and that could also be one of the things that's like the media thing that everybody says it was never an issue, because the more you try to play into the negative narrative, sometimes it only gets dark for one person, sometimes it gets dark for both. And I don't think either one of them really have the time or space to be sparring, so to speak, in their respective professions. I don't think it's time for that for either of them. She got a movie coming out. She has other things going on, and Cat Williams, just won an Emmy, about to go on tour and working on specials and things like that. They shouldn't really be going at each other. And then with the whole Me Too movement and all that stuff that's going on now, it'll only get bad for Cat Williams because um, it'll be a black man tearing down a black woman, and this is why black women. So it's a downward spiral he'll get himself into. I think if they were actually starting to go at it via social media or just him continuously making comments and things like that. So he did say he was regretful of something like speaking on her. As far as Tiffany Haddish goes, he was regretful of speaking on Wanda Sykes. When he spoke on Wanda Sykes and things like that. And I think that's commendable because some people don't apologize. They just be like, hey, I said it or I meant it and things like that. And sometimes you do speak not out of context, but you speak out of a place where you think other people feel the same way. And then, and even if some people do, a lot of people who feel the same way you do won't back you when it seems like most of the backlash is coming in from people who don't feel the same way, or it's things like the Me Too movement, or it's feminists and things like that who are piling it on, and you just be like, whoa, I'm gonna let him fight that out on his own because I don't really want to be involved. I don't want to be attacked, socially by these people and stuff like that. So I get it. Like a lot of people don't really stand up for everything that they always really believe in. So he might have been left out in the wind on that, especially in that field, following the Monique thing, and then now with her, and she got money, she got a bag from Netflix. Monique didn't get her bag from Netflix and stuff like that. But one interesting thing he did say regarding the Netflix thing is that Netflix don't call anybody, and I don't know how true that is, but it sounds semi accurate. Like they might call some people. But I don't think they're just calling everybody and say, hey, you wanna, hey, you wanna, hey, you wanna, especially if you're not scorching hot. So I get it. And he was like, they're not reaching out to people. They're not reaching out to anybody almost. I don't know. Maybe they reached out to Dave Chappelle, maybe. But maybe they did. Maybe Dave team called them and said, hey, I'm going to come back. And I would love to do something on your platform. Let's talk money. And they were like, great. If we can get this exclusive content, they're in front of it. But someone who, and he said that he got like around 2 million, 2.4 million, something like that for his deal. Reason being is that his previous tour right before that's how many tickets were sold. So pretty much it's almost like you get $1 per person who brought in to your content before coming to see us, your latest content. So he did about 2.4 million people on his last tour or special, whatever he was doing on his own, or with the people that he was touring with and things like that. And then, but he was headlining, and Monique's did like 316,000 or something like that. So, they priced her based on the tickets that she pulled in. It was pretty much like $1 per person. The way he was talking about it. So, if he did 2.4 million people on his tour in his different places, he ain't just like stay in one location and continuously, and add up every show, which is still not bad because I don't see you. If I go to a comedy show on Friday, I'm not going to go back to the same comedy show on Saturday. I'm not going to see the same people back to back because the content's going to be the same. They're here doing the same exact jokes for the most part. So that was telling of that. Just backtracking all the way back to the Monique situation about how they were lowballing her and she's a legend and all stuff like that. Do I agree that she's a legend? Yes. Do I think she was being lowballed to in a sense? I don't think anybody is really out here checking for Monique today. Even right around that time, I didn't think anybody was really checking for her. But just before I go off on a tangent about that, let's just move from that. But that was pretty telling about how she was saying like they called her and then they couldn't get the deal together and and then they couldn't work out the numbers and they lowballed her. She came back with another number and they was like no, and then they turned around and they paid somebody like Tiffany Haddish and they turned around and they gave Dave 20 million or 40 million, 20 per special, or then he did 2 or something like that. So And she was like, well, he's a legend, and he did this, and he hasn't been around in a while. But the thing about him is, like, he was in demand. Like, regardless of what you think about Dave Chappelle, was always in demand. We were like, what's up with Dave? Where's Dave? Haven't seen Dave in a while. What's going on with him? Is he back from Africa? Blah, blah, blah. All those kind of things. So he was a hot commodity in his silence. And that was major. That was a selling point for him. And I think that was, it worked out perfect. So yeah, Cat Williams, they pieced it up. Cat Williams said there's no problem with him and Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish said there was never an issue between the two, and it seems to move on. There was some situation they were saying, like, somebody pulled a gun on Cat Williams, and he was trying to say, like, well, if there was a gun, don't you think there would be, like, police involved, someone's going to jail and things like that? If someone pulls a gun, there's an intent. If you have an intent to pull a gun and you want it's to shoot somebody, right? So no one got shot, blah, blah, blah. So he was going on stuff like that. And the only thing I would say about Cat Williams now is that while he gives up a decent amount of information when he's in his interviews, from the recent interviews I've seen and just talking to people, I really don't like how he talks. I don't know if that makes sense to some people if they haven't seen, like, his delivery and things like that. I really don't like how he talks. The way he talks to people during the interview, and it's kind of like he slows it down, and it's almost like it's very belittling in a way, in my opinion, of how he talked to some of these people when they ask him good questions, things that they have an interest, or they're trying to find out something that was in the headline, or gossip or whatever, and they're trying to get truth out of it. The way that he talks is it's belittling, and it's kind of weird. But that's all I really gotta say about that. There's nothing really too crazy as far as nothing happened. They didn't beef. They didn't pass jokes back and forth via the internet or nothing like that. So it's nothing really to continue on with them about as far as that. So let's get into some music. So let's start with the billboards. So the Billboard magazine, or Billboard, whatever. I don't know how good magazines still exist. They're still printing, but they are, obviously. But the Billboard cover. So Bad Baby's on the Billboard cover. From my understanding, there are two covers. There's one cover with Wayne, Lil Wayne, and then there's another cover with Bad Baby. And for those who don't know who Bad Baby is, it's the young lady that was on Dr. Phil, the Catch Me Outside girl. That's who Bad Baby is. So Bad Baby is on the cover of Billboard, and a lot of people was like, how did she get there? Like, how could someone of that ilk get to the Billboard cover over excuse me, over all of the other acts that are out in front of her, all of the other acts. And she was like, because I paid for it. Like, she brought her cover on Billboard. So saying that, like, that she can, like, they put Wayne on it, and they're not on it together. It's not Bad Baby and Wayne on the cover together. If you haven't seen it, it's like Bad Baby has her own cover, Wayne has his own cover. It's just like the same issue, two covers. And why I guess anything is allowed as far as the industry goes, that you can buy into anything. You can pay for almost anything you want in the entertainment industry, which goes all the way into like payola and all those other kind of things, because it was always, from my understanding, that major brands like that, like Billboard and like Rolling Stone and all this Essence and all these other things, they ask the artist, or they ask the personality, or they ask the entertainer to be on the cover, and it's considered like an honor to be there, because that's a major platform, it's a major look for you, not just for you, for them too, because it'll draw in that your fan base and extra advertising dollars and things like that. I get it, but when you can outright just purchase your way onto the cover of a platform that large, and I don't think that, like, I think that Atlantic has money, of course. I don't think that Bad Baby has the, like, I didn't assume that she had the kind of money to buy her way onto the cover of a platform that big, and So it's one of those things where it's like I want to know how much it actually costs. Like I want to know how much she paid to be on the cover of Billboard. Like I want to know because it's like if that's the case, I feel like anybody who gets that number can do it. And I feel like a lot of up and coming artists could get close to that number, and if not buy the cover, they can buy a bigger, a page, whatever, whatever's the next popular page inside of that, and moving forward, just like they do for like the Double XL magazine. You can like buy a slot into the magazine and get your own article, and you pretty much you can, if no one there interviews you from the company, you can pretty much question Q&A yourself and then submit it with some photos, and they'll put the article together. So, you know, I just didn't think Billboard was that type of platform. I thought they were more like, we're going to report what we want to report. Our writers write what we want to write. We edit it out. We find out who we want to be on the cover, who's like, the hot up and coming, blah blah blah. This and the third. We're going to put them on the cover as far as our music, as far as the music act, and then the ad dollars will roll in. And I always thought that's how big brands magazines work. But just finding out that she can pay for that is kind of discouraging, in my opinion, or just for me as an independent artist as well. It's like it only proves to you that a lot of these people get put out in front because they're spending money to be in places that they would have never been able to get to. And I'm okay with it. If you have the money, do it and fine. But it also goes to prove that, like, a lot of things in the music industry is dead. Artist development is dead, and that's why a lot of the music, a lot of the quality music, seems to be getting lost on the internet, because it's the only platform that a lot of good artists have. Because some of the best artists or some of the best stories come from people who don't have the resources to buy their way in. And a lot of people aren't listening, or they don't have a super large fan base or a super large support base for people to help them push their music. So a lot of it is no fault of their own, but the music, the content is still good, and the quality is still good, and things like that. So buying your way onto the Billboard cover is crazy. And her reasoning behind it was like, because a lot of people thought I was going to be done. No, I'm not done. I'm still here. And it's like now you're buying your way into your continuation of fame. You're buying your way into that. And while it sounds like it's okay, I don't think it's okay. I don't really think it's okay in music. I don't think you should have a cover with Wayne, who I'm assuming, because he could have brought his way onto the cover too, because he's finally got his label is now solely his and things like that. So he could be on his own little marketing run. He could have brought his way in as well. So I'm looking at it like, I'm assuming that they gave Wayne the cover, and then she buy hers, and it's like, this is trash. In my opinion, like that shouldn't even be allowed. If you get somebody that big as far as Wayne goes, the cover, it's him. It shouldn't be him and anybody else. And especially if it's the same issue. If it's the same issued magazine, and she's like, I love Wayne, but apparently I sold more than him the last year. You can't. I mean, I'm assuming she did because Wayne wasn't putting out music. That's just a given, but we can't allow artists, especially up and coming artists or manufactured artists, because she's a manufactured artist, she's an industry plant, to say stuff like that about like living legends in hip hop. I don't think it should be allowed. And I'm pretty sure I don't check for her on social media, so I'm pretty sure she's probably getting a lot of backlash from a lot of Wayne supporters, and they're like killing her just for that one simple comment, like, you'll never ever sell as much as Wayne ever did in his career, blah blah blah. I'm pretty sure they're smashing her for that. But it was crazy. So Billboard goes and do that, and like, your thoughts, leave it in the comments. You can email me, you can message me on Facebook or Instagram. Like, how do you feel about an artist being able to buy their way onto the cover of Billboard, forcing themselves to stay relevant, because that's pretty much what she admitted to doing. That's one thing. But since we're still on music, let's go with let's go with the hip hop Forbes list first, and then we're gonna go into like Wale and things like that. So the hip hop Forbes list for 2018 dropped. Some obvious names on there. Jay at the top. We got what? Jay, Diddy. A little bit surprising. Kendrick Lamar made more money than Drake last year. The two were kind of surprising for the two names I thought was in switch order 3 and 4, not 4 and 3. How they got it? Kendrick over Drake money wise, but still a good look. They both made a lot. Over 30, 35 million. I think it was like 37 and 45 or something like that. And then it goes down the list. Um, so it's Jay, Diddy, Kendrick, Drake, J. Cole rounds out the top 5, I believe it was. And the obvious names, Drake, Dr. Dre's on the list and thing, but he's so those are givens. The names that were kind of surprising that made the list for 2018 is Lil Uzi Vert. I didn't think he was making enough money to make the Forbes list. So I don't know what other business he's doing, and if that's solely from music, then that's great. It was around like 17 million or something like that. That's a great year. That's a great year from someone. If it's on solely music, that's outstanding. Of course, the other ones they aren't on solely music either. But I don't see what else Uzi is doing. Like I don't see a clothing line. I don't see a sneaker. I don't know. So I don't know. And if it exists, I don't know. So he's on the list. The Migos, he was like number 17. I don't know if it was 17 million, but he was at number 17. He probably even more than 17 million. Migos are on the list at number 12. Chance the Rapper is at like 14 or something like that on the list. This is the top 20. I don't know if we should count the Migos because do we count them like the entire group's success under one umbrella? Because then you factor in like Quavo dropped a couple mixtapes with other people, or his singles and his features from other things pulled into the group effort when some of them weren't doing the same thing, or like Offset's solo ventures and things like that, and take off non-solo ventures. So you grouping all of them into one group. I don't think it's really fair, quote unquote, but they're there. They're number 12 on the list. And still going down the list, what I did like to see, I like that Uzi was on the list. Logic, but he does other business outside of just music, and he has his own label and things like that, and then other business ventures. Great. Meek hit the list, which was good. Surprising, around like 15 mil 2018. Meek is on the list. He's tied with Russ, who's an independent act, and everybody's on their fuck Russ movement, but I like his work. I like his music. He does come off as arrogant, but that doesn't have anything to do with the quality of his content. And that's it. And Swiss Beats, they all tied for like 20. So that list is out. And the bigger conversation is that because the list is so new, it's not something that's been around for the duration of hip hop. It's not something that's always been in place. Like hip hop was always looked over. And now that we are the most consumed music platform in the world, what's the bigger conversation? What's the bigger conversation as far as hip hop being the biggest brand, still being siphoned and still being taken away from all the little tidbits, everything that we do? Like the culture is very influential to other facets of music, not just music, the other facets of life. There are people, how we dress is copied across all neighborhoods, whether it's the suburbs or urban areas, overseas and things like that. The style that we do things, the way we talk, the way we walk in our culture is mimicked and mimicked to the point where it becomes habit for other people. And now that we have our own Forbes list, the hip hop Forbes list, I think it's a good thing just to highlight that these entertainers, these rappers, these hip hop artists are doing other things besides just rapping. I think it's a very positive thing to look on from like the youth growing up, to look into it and being like even if like me, I can tell my kids that like if they see that, I'm like, oh man, Drake made $37 million last year off his music, and I can explain to him like, no, well, it wasn't just music. The music was a gateway for him to be able to do business with other major brands, whether it be a clothing brand or a sneaker deal and things like that. His likeness afforded him that opportunity to make that much money last year doing other things outside of just music. It's almost like going to having a conversation with your kids about, well, you should go to college. Because you go to college, you have opportunities because you can get a better job and blah, blah, blah. I know you want to play basketball. I know you want to play football. But if you get your degree, your life after basketball and football could be a lot better if you have an understanding of what you want or things like that. So it's that same conversation you can have now, and I'm glad that hip-hop is opening the doors and letting us get a little peek behind the curtain about the financial gains of these dominant artists that are in the game, because they are the face of hip-hop. They are the face of hip-hop to not just the people who are really in tune with hip-hop, but they're also the face of hip-hop to the people who don't really know, because there are people who don't know who certain rappers are, who never heard, who don't listen, and they only listen to pop or country music or only listen to the radio, and some things will fall short of their ears. So I think it's good. The quality of life being better for hip-hop artists at this point, at this stage in this era, I think is great, and I think it's something that we should continue and we should push for. I think it's something we should always have in the forefront of our minds when we're looking at independent acts coming up on the rise, and then once they make it and when they're here, we can take a look into how they're doing business. So, that's a good thing. The hip hop list is out there. Go check it out, guys. It's on, Forbes list and things like that. You can find a list almost anywhere. You got Google it if you care about those kind of things. Keeping in music and charting and things like that. Let's talk Wale for a bit. I like Wale. I think he's a phenomenal artist. I think he's a phenomenal lyricist. When he came in with the wave of Drake and Kendrick and Sean, even Meek, I think they were all in a conversation of like the 4 or 5 artists that were going to pretty much carry hip hop into the next era. And he seems to be out of that bunch, Drake, Kendrick, Cole, Meek. He seems to be the one that has always been getting the short end of the stick, so to speak. And I've been always trying to figure out why. Like, why is Wale at the bottom of this pecking order? Like, he makes great radio songs when he makes a radio song. His bodies of work are normally always outstanding. For the most part, there are a few like questionable things, and but the lyricism is always top notch. He always has a couple gems in there, but he never seems to get that recognition. And just looking at certain things and watching his interviews, and sometimes people perceive him a certain way. It's kind of like, what makes him unlikable to the masses? Like, what makes it, like, for a lot of hip hop heads will go to bat for Wale, saying, nah, he's great, he can really rap, you crazy if you don't think he's better than X, Y, and Z and this person and that person. But then we turn around and we don't really check for Wale as much as we'll check for Cole. We don't check for him as much as we'll check for Kendrick or Drake. Even Big Sean to the mad. Like, Big Sean is now falling into that category where Wale is now, where we think you're top tier, you have the talent, but what's up? You know what I'm saying? So he dropped a project over the weekend, dropped another EP. He got Cole on it. That's probably my favorite song on it. And we're just looking into, like, I'm just looking into, like, why hasn't Wale been able to transcend? So he had multiple deals throughout his career. I think he was with a couple different labels, but most recent, to everyone's knowledge who follows music, he was with MMG over there with Ross and them. Now, I always thought when he first went there, I just had this argument with some of my guys back in my old studio that Wale does not fit Maybach Music. He should not be there. I never thought he fit the roster of being under Ross, because Ross is a street guy, musically. I don't know what he does in real life. I don't care about his persona and all that stuff. But Ross, the label was like it was a street label, so to speak. Like the music was hard, it was drug dealing and stuff like that. And Wale does not fit that mold at all of being, with those guys. Then he goes there, he signed to Maybach Music. They signed Meek, which is the street guy, and it always seemed like Ross favored Meek more as far as trying to make sure his face was in the forefront. Now they also mesh a lot better together, on majority of the tracks that Ross would have because it's content that Meek is relating to in his own music. And I think that him being signed to Maybach Music was a detriment to his career, as far as being likable by the masses, because the people who don't like Ross, because Ross is one of the best selling gold hip hop artists of our time. He goes gold, he goes gold, he goes gold, but he never hits that platinum mark. Now, yes, I know Ross now has platinum albums, but we're talking early release, how long it takes him to go gold versus how long it takes him to go platinum. So don't be like in the comments saying you're a dickhead, Ross do got platinum albums, start dropping albums. I know he has platinum albums now, but we're talking at the sense of when they drop, majority of them were going gold, and we used to always question why he can't go platinum because we thought he was popular enough, But it's the same way that it was hard for Meek to be going platinum, at a certain rate because the street music stopped selling as much. The masses, the street music stopped selling as much. It's listened to. It's probably one of the most listened to as far as like we're sharing it and we're listening to it in groups and we're breaking it down, but as far as selling, it's not selling as much as the hip hop music that's more relatable to pop. The things that can be relatable to the people in the streets and to the people in the suburbs at the same time. It's not really, it just wasn't selling. So I get that. So with that being said, like thinking that Wale, him being on Maybach Music, I think it was harmful to his career. It kept him in the spotlight enough to keep him relevant, but I don't think it ever elevated him to where I think he could have been. Like he could have always have been in the conversation, not just as far as talent, but as far as sales too. I think he could have been close to that top tier of he could have been selling under what, like close and under to what Kendrick and Drake is selling if he was on a different platform. So it boggles my mind. I don't know. Like I don't know all of the ins and out of record labels, and I don't know how they work and things like that, especially when you're signed to a rapper, like a rapper signed to a rapper who's actively rapping and dominant in the market at that time. It's kind of hard to step out from behind that shadow and do your thing, especially if you're not doing the same type of music. Why isn't Wale a bigger act? Why isn't, we feel like he has the music, or a lot of people feel like he has the music. I can't speak for everybody because some people think Wale is trash. I seen somebody post the other day Wale over Cole, and while that's arguable, I don't think that it's true. I think Cole's over Wale talent wise. I think that J. Cole has the ability to make better songs, but I think that he's careful. He's a lot more careful with his content, and he's not looking for radio hits. I don't think he was ever the guy to be looking for radio hits, where in Wale's lane, he is looking for a radio hit. He's always been good at dominating, getting a good radio smash and moving it. So I think that's where they differ, but talent-wise, I think Cole has better content. I think Cole has a better way of saying things lyrically where you can understand what he's saying and you don't have to continue to try to go back and pick out too much of breaking down the content and things like that. This era, nobody's really rewinding music to be like, what'd he say? That's not really a thing. That's not really happening as much no more. I do it. But I don't do it so far. I'm not gonna rewind that song again if I'm just listening to the project. I try to get through the entire project, and I'll go back and listen again. And then I start catching things along the way. That's pretty much how I do it. But back in the day, and I seem like a 50-year-old, hip hop head when I say stuff like that. When I say back in the day, but we used to take that same song and we'll listen to it. Like we like a song or he says some stuff, and we're trying to decipher because we want to be the person the next day trying to break down the bars and stuff like that. Today, I want to be able to understand it, and maybe I don't have to. Maybe because the older you get, you're supposed to be getting smarter and things like that. So it's like I get it faster. I understand the context a lot faster, so I don't have to rewind it. I just listen to it again. Um, you think so, Wop? You think Wale is a bit more versatile than Cole? I don't. I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with that. It's tough because J. Cole can make the radio songs. He doesn't have as many as Wale, but he also hasn't put out as he hasn't put out as many as Wale. But he can make the radio friendly songs. I just don't think he wants to be in that lane. Like based on his music, two based on like when he talks about the industry and when he talks about the game and how he first came in, and Jay really wouldn't give him that push that he felt like he needed from Jay at that time and stuff like that. I think Wale, I don't think he's more versatile than Cole because he was at a label where he could have showed, like when he was with MMG, I feel like he could have showed that he was more versatile by dipping into that street world. And I don't think he really dabbled in it too much as far as his content. Because this is music. A lot of people lie about the things they do, or you can say things, or he could have came up with clever stories and like that. And I'm pretty sure there are some songs out there where maybe he did. But I don't know. I can't recall it at the moment. So maybe it is some songs where while they try to dip into the rhyming about the street life kind of thing a little bit and stuff like that. But I don't get that from Wale at all. I don't get that from Cole either. But as far as being surrounded by that on a daily basis while you're signed to a label, I feel like he could have took a little piece of that world and grasped some of that fan base from that street world. And I don't think he was ever successful in doing that, which is why I don't think MMG was good for him. I can't say he's more versatile than Cole. But I do think that now, I think that Wale's image, of course, fits better in this world that Cole is in now, because Wale is a consumer of things just like we are doing. He talks about it, just like he talks about. He always talked about like fashion. He always talked about his sneakers, like how he's into buying sneakers and stuff like that. And just the thing, he seems like an average person who can just rap really, really well, and he just doesn't connect, and it's hard for me to understand why he doesn't connect with now when he's into things that goes on now. Like it seems like looking at Cole, it's like he's disconnected from everything that's going on now as far as what we care about versus what he care about, imagery and things like that. And when I say we, of course I mean the masses. That's my favorite phrase to go to. I mean, like, as far as what we care about, what society seems to care about the most, the chains and how much you pay for your sneaks and the Supreme and all this other stuff like that. Cole doesn't seem to care about that stuff. Wale does. Now, I don't see Wale flaunting it. He's not the person to be on, Instagram with stacks of money and showing his jewelry and stuff like that. No, but I think that he relates more to that crowd as far as being able to do it. So I think that's important too, to try to figure out like how can someone that seems disconnected be so dominant. And we're talking about Cole here, who seemed disconnected as far as what we would like what the masses would like you to portray as far as being a rap artist versus someone who like has the ability to do it all, because he clearly Wale dresses better than Cole does, and he seems more modern than that. But we don't care, and so it's one of those things is, I like Wale's production though. I like his production. If we're talking Wale's production versus J. Cole's production, I like Wale's production a lot better than I like J. Cole's production. I don't think that Yeah, nah, it's that simple. Like we already, a lot of people already complain like Cole needs to start letting other producers get in on his stuff, and we can get a different sound from him. But we at the same time we still love J. Cole's sound. Wale actually works with other producers and things like that, and like the production to me is solid. So we're comparing Cole to Wale as far as production. Wale wins that battle. Production wise, his beat selection is good, and then I think being around somebody like Ross for so long, who a lot of us deem one of the best beat selectors in the game that the game has ever seen. I don't think he's gonna far too far off out of beat selection because you had somebody around that's like you have to make sure your production is A1, especially in today's era. The production catches you first. It's not like the songs are coming on and you're just rapping first and then the beat rolls in later. The beat's there first. If this beat's super trash, I might not make it past 15 seconds. You better start rapping now. So I like Wale's production over Cole's production for the most part. Majority of the things like his out of their full discography, I think Wale has way better beat production than Cole. But still on Wale, is it fair to still compare Wale to Kendrick, to Cole, to Drake? Yes, I think we can as far as Big Sean goes because they're falling in the same boat. But is it still fair to compare him to the upper echelon, or do we move him down a few tiers, or do we move him out of tier 2 into tier 3 and things like that? And I'm not speaking for sales. I'm only speaking for talent. I'm not speaking on how much they're going to sell because it's always going to be kind of hard to outsell the juggernauts. They are what they are. They're going to make their money. They're going to sell what they sell, regardless of who else is selling anywhere near close to what they're doing. Is it fair to compare him talent wise? Like, does he really have that upper echelon talent to keep him in that conversation? Because he's been in a conversation this long, and the people who enjoy hip hop get mad at what Wale is to the game right now. Like, you're so good, but you just can't get over the hump. Why? We don't know. So talk to me. Is it fair about that? I know. I feel like it is. I don't feel like it's too bad. I feel like we can compare him talent wise. But what about preference? Like, would you prefer to listen to Kendrick or would you prefer to listen to Wale? I think that's what we're getting into. Like, it's all about preference. I would rather listen to a Drake album before I listen to any of the other albums for entertainment factor. And then we can listen to Cole. I would rather listen to Cole before I listen to Kendrick for entertainment factor. They both have messages and things like that. Then I would listen to. I think I would probably listen to Wale before I listen to Kendrick. If I'm talking about something I want to be more entertaining. So I guess it depends on how you're looking at it. Like, what area are you coming from when you're trying to say, like, not who's better, but who would I rather listen to right now? If you're in a rapidy rap mode, I would listen to Kendrick over Wale. But if I'm into, like, if I want you to rap and I want to be entertained at the same time, I would probably listen to Wale before I listen to Kendrick. I think that he makes more enjoyable music consistently versus being able to rap well and have a message and things like that Kendrick and Cole does and things like that. Like, that's why Drake is at the top of the poll, at the totem pole, as far as rap entertainment goes, being paid for music. Because he's the most entertaining. His music is the most entertaining out of almost anybody in the game. I don't know who makes more entertaining music right now in hip hop than Drake. I can't even argue. I don't think there's anybody who makes more entertaining music. So I want Wale to do good, man. Like, I want him to thrive. It's weird that you get dropped by Atlantic and then signed by Warner, who also owns Atlantic. It's a little weird. Like, I don't understand that, but it is what it is. Or vice versa. Whatever. I think it was, Atlantic then picked up by Warner. So it's one of them things where it's like, I thought he was going to be able to go on and make a good amount of money comfortable on his own, putting out his own music, his own projects and things like that. I didn't think Wale needed a big label to back him after being dropped by a big label, but you have enough of a following, enough of people to sell some music. I think his platform is big enough to make money. I feel like he could have made more money without the big label on his own, even if his streams were less. Doing it on his own because he's got less money to have to break down with multiple people. It's just his. It goes into his pocket, his manager, and whatever he got to pay for his publishing and production. But he owns a lot of that stuff and it's a lot faster. And now he just keeps teasing us with EP after EP, and he's even been teasing like retirement on his social media platforms. And it's like, I don't know. Do you want to retire because you're unhappy? Because you feel like you're not getting the credit that you deserve? Like, I don't really understand, someone who just signed a deal with a major is now hinting at retirement. And I want to know why. Like, I need more explanation. I don't like all of the little subliminals and the maybes and the stuff that make people even think that you're thinking about retiring, because you turn around and bring it out like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. I meant this. That's what I was talking about. It ain't had nothing to do with retiring. And then people like me feel dumb because that's how I interpreted your messages across your platform that you're putting out. So, a lot that goes on into that as far as being an artist. Like, I don't think any rap artist should ever just announce that they're retired. If you don't want to retire, like if you're not really, really done, don't announce it. Yeah, yeah. I think the MMG deal did stunt his growth. He could have been on any other platform. I would have rather him been on Cash Money, even Def Jam. Even though Def Jam is presumed to be a shitty label, I would have rather him have been there because now he seems like a more dominant artist, so to speak, on that platform. So, you know. But moving on, let's move on from Wale. I could talk about that all day because I'm very interested in his career and how he continues to move on through all that stuff. Let's get to some. There's a bunch of BS. Let's start with something kind of funny. Then we're gonna go into something that's more funny, and then something else that's more funny. So, I don't know if anyone saw Webby. Had his son's public shaming. That's what they're calling it. They're calling it public shaming because he found them in the room, had a girl there or some girls were there in the room, a couple friends and things like that. And it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so he pulls them down, tapes the conversation and public shaming and things like that. That society, we can't even discipline our children without so many people in society having a problem with it. Now, I see if he was on the video physically abusing his kids because they had the girl in there and stuff like that, but that wasn't the case. So now we got to go to public shaming, which they also equate to like bullying and all this other kind of stuff. So it's some of it's fucking stupid. So he's talking to his kids, something like that, and then I go on. I'm only interested in what he's going to say after the backlash of people saying, why are you doing this to these kids? So he's talking about it, and he says, he tells a story. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He's in the studio, and he hears like a girl voice. He goes up, he checks on his kids. He talks to them, pulls them all down. Some of the other kids, his friends, homie, tried to run. He told the kids to go bring him back. All this other stuff. And then he says, what was funny to me, and I'll move on from this, but he said that they asked him, what was their punishment. He said, well, for now, I took their doors off of their room. They no longer have privacy at the moment. I found that to be super hilarious because I feel like that's some shit my dad would have did to me growing up if I disrespected a barrier. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was some shit like he really said, don't do it. I feel like my dad, I would do that. I'm a person... Like I remove things. My kids break something, I take my time to replace it if I think it's something that they deserve to have. I take my time to replace it. If they bust a hole in their bedroom door, I'm gonna leave the hole there. Now you don't have privacy. It's broken, and I leave it. You know what I'm saying? Like just to make them understand the worth of some things, the value of things. And don't disrespect my space. all that type of stuff. You know, don't disregard what I'm telling you. Don't disrespect my rules. Don't disrespect my space that you don't pay for. All those things. I found it to be hilarious. A lot of people were like trying to like shame Webby and talking bad about him, public shaming and stuff like that. And I'm like, go raise your own fucking kids, man. And then it'd be a lot of people who don't even have kids trying to tell other people how they should be raising their children and what they should be saying to them and what they shouldn't do. And you've never even been in that position. You're like a fucking god aunt. You're not even somebody's godmother or godfather. Like, get it together. You're just like, mind your business. You know, it wasn't abuse. No one got hurt. It's not. It's, you know, in this time, everything ends up going viral and going online anyway. Yeah, oh, he didn't have to tape it though. He could have just had the conversation. No, he's showing how he's parenting and things like that. And that public shame sometimes could stop someone from doing it again, because I don't want to keep being humiliated by my father, who has a large platform, to make me feel bad about myself about doing something that was wrong based on the rules that are set out in his house. All right, so it's that simple, man. It's simple stuff. So moving on. Adrian Bronner was riding in the Uber, him and some friends, and this, when we talk about people that need help in the industry, in the entertainment industry, in sports, anything, AB is one of those guys. He is mentally, something is wrong with him. Like, he's a child. Like, he's very, very childish in his mentality and the way that he acts. And I know that he has some type of mental condition, and I don't know what it is. And if it's ever been announced that he did, let me know what it is he has. I don't know if it's bipolar disorder or whatever. But they're in this Uber. Sicko Mode comes on the radio, and they're screaming and grabbing the back of the Uber driver's seat, putting a camera in his face. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, and maybe they were drunk, high, whatever. It doesn't excuse the behavior that you've seen. Like, in that Uber was fucking, like, it was absurd. When I say they were going crazy, it was like almost unsafe kind of crazy for the driver. So the driver pulls over and ends the ride. Y'all got to get out. And they're like, come on, man, we got to go just a little bit further. He's like, nah, I can't do it, blah, blah, blah. So he ends the ride and stuff like that. But the crazy thing about all that is Uber banned Bronner from using the app. Like, he's no longer allowed to use the Uber app. Now, while it's like he's rich, it doesn't matter, he can pay other people, like, stuff like that, I feel like to get banned from a driving app, like an app that's supposed to be good for you, especially if you are out there and you're drunk and you're high or whatever, you want to get home safely outside just a regular cab or whatever the case may be, to be banned from something like that for acting like a fucking, like, child, like this was retarded. And it goes back to me saying what I was talking about last week about having people around you that stop you from making stupid decisions like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you're the money guy, but just because you're acting a fucking fool in the back of an Uber doesn't mean I have to act a fucking fool in the back of the Uber with you. I'm talking about, like, they were like swinging around, grabbing the seats, and I'm like, this shit is crazy. It was crazy. Just watching it, I was upset like I was the Uber driver. I'm like, because you're a grown man acting like this in something. Like, why not just do something like get your own car and have a driver, and you can act any way you please in that vehicle, but not in somebody else's space, making them feel uncomfortable and unsafe. And he didn't. I'm assuming that the driver didn't know who he was, or if he did, he didn't care who he was. And it's like, get out of my car. Nah, I can't do it. I'm like, you should never be like, I get banned from Uber, like kicked out of an Uber. Yeah, maybe he was drunk one day, he threw up in somebody's stuff, and he was like, nah, B, you gotta get out. You too sick, you're too drunk or whatever, or something like that. But just acting a fucking ass, like, come on, grow up, man. I'm tired of Bronner and his antics. He's always doing something stupid to stay in media. How about you go out here and start winning these fucking fights? Like, do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. So that was dumb. That was dumb. But let's move past that. AB's a fuck. He's been a fool for a long time. Um, so Rihanna had our 4th annual Diamond Ball. I believe it's a charity event. She invites out mad celebrities, athletes, and things like that. So they have this Diamond Ball, and the news leading up to the ball, everybody was going to be in attendance. They always say everybody. Everybody's invited. Everybody's going to be in attendance. And then, last minute, an uninvite was sent out. And that uninvite was sent out to Cardi B. Now, while this is a charity event, and of course it's nothing major, it's probably not a super big look like the Met Gala or something like that. We talked about this whole situation with Cardi B trying to attack Nicki and all this other kind of stuff, and how it could start messing up her looks or her bag. This was a look. Probably not as big of a look, like I said, like the Met Galas and things like that, because it's a charity event and it's thrown by another celebrity. But it's the 4th one, it's annual, and it's a lot of celebrities there. It's only going to start showing to the people who don't mess with you. Because we're looking at it like this. Everybody wants to do a song with Rihanna. Everybody. Everybody, any genre across the world would love to do a song with Rihanna. She's one of the biggest acts on the face of this planet. And you had an invite to be at an event with her that she runs, organizes, blah, 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 all that stuff. And your uninvite was sent out last minute because of your antics from New York Fashion Week. That's important because once other people, other artists stop messing with you, especially ones who can help propel your platform into more audiences, that's when you start to have a problem. So when I saw the news about that, I was like, man, this is what I was talking about. Like, this is what I was talking about. You go out here and you take this ratchet mentality, you try to apply it in a place where that mentality will not fly, and then you think you're going to turn around tomorrow and everything's going to be cool. Like, how much of your money did you mess up now? How much of your endorsements, how much of your sponsors? How many people are now viewing her different? Because it's like, I don't want her here. It always go back to the thing too, and I don't know if Nicki Minaj was there. I'm not sure. I have no idea. But it goes back to saying, who do you want in attendance? Do you want Nicki there, or do you want Cardi there? Not just based off of that one incident as well. It's also based off of, before that, who's going to bring more value to that said event for the look? Who's going to bring more endorsements? Who's going to bring more sponsors? Who's going to, if we're donating, who has the bigger bag to be able to donate more? All of those things are factored in. And when you start acting like you don't need those platforms, or you start acting like the ratchet girl from the Bronx and all this other stuff like that, it affects you. It affects your bag. It affects your money. And I went on about it on the last episode, so I'm not going to go too far off on a tangent here, but this is what I was talking about. And this is only one thing for now. This is one thing, one event, but it's a huge event. And you know that because of the people who were in attendance. So it's a pretty big deal. And you were uninvited. Now, you didn't show up. You didn't make it. You were uninvited. Like, sorry, I know we said you can come last week, but nah, you stay home, please. That's trash. That's trash, and she's trash for that. It's like, calm your shit. She's probably home thinking about it. Offset probably cussed her dumb ass out and all that, and her management team is calling, and the label's probably like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm pretty sure she's been hearing it, because from my understanding, she's been quiet. She's been quiet. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from her since the lump on her head. So maybe she's just waiting for that to go down before she starts talking to us and tell her side. Maybe we'll wait. We're waiting to win and see what's going on. So aside from that, we had MGK's crew stopping out some guy named G Rod. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know if he was somebody popular before him get into the fight with his crew. I'm not sure, but Reese, I don't think that Cardi acting that way is going to affect her fan base because I believe that is her fan base. I think she got her fan base by being ratchet and entertaining, so to speak, and new. I think that's how she got her fan base in. I do think that the older her fan base gets, see, Cardi's still new. I think the older her fan base gets, she'll just grow old to them. They'll grow out of liking her because if she continues to act the same way, her fan base will evolve, but she won't. If she doesn't evolve, then it's like she's stuck in there like, damn, Cardi, you still ratchet 10 years. Like, you're a whole decade in, you still ratchet. That's how they going to feel. And they're just going to, like, be like, forget it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we do it with every type of artist. If you're still the same so long, we be like, you're washed. Forget it. So I don't think it'll affect her fan base now. They're still like even her fan base were taking up for her when it happened. I would have punched that bitch in her face too, blah. Not even knowing why she was doing what she was doing, that it was over some social media liked tweet. Like, you know what I'm saying? They didn't know what she said. They couldn't even hear. No one can barely hear what she was saying. They just thought she was like, you say something about my kid, I'm gonna fuck you up too. And it's like, that's not even what happened. Now you're hype over nothing. You just instantly ratchet for no reason because you don't even know. So they were already going to bat for her, not knowing what the truth was. So I don't think it affects her fan base right now. But it affects her money because her fan base is not spending a lot of money. They stream a lot, but I stream a lot of stuff too. I pay, $14, $15 for my streaming platform. Maybe, all right, so I'm gonna say 25 because I pay for two. I pay $25 to listen to unlimited albums forever. I'm not really buying into what you're doing. So, let it reflect in the sales. So your biggest bags come from endorsements. Your biggest bags come from sponsors. Your biggest bags come from people wanting to put their brand on your back for free or paying you to wear a dress to an event that you want to fucking throw shoes at. That's where your money comes from. So it's not about losing fans. She'll always be able to make some money, do a little tour here and there, make some money. She'll be able to feed her family for a long time. She'll be probably comfortable based on what I make for a long time. She makes way more money than me. But once you start moving into the world of the rich, you don't make shit. Like, you don't make what they make. You don't make what Nicki makes for a sponsor. You don't make what Rihanna makes for a sponsor. You don't get what Bruno Mars gets. You don't get what Drake get. So for you to be acting outside of what they portray themselves to be, you're fucking up. Because they carry themselves a certain way so they can get that type of money. That's the main thing here. Her fans will always be her fans. And her fans, like, as a fan, you're either a fan of the person or you're a fan of the behavior. I think most people are fans of the behavior because I don't think you're a fan of the person if you commend that type of stuff and watch her start throwing away her early career. She's just throwing it down the drain. I don't think you're not really a fan if you're doing that. So the fan base is fickle. I feel like honestly, Bad Baby and Cardi B is the same fucking person. They're on the same label. They both are getting manufactured hits. They both are not black, but they're both thrown into the hip hop culture. Now, Bad Baby, she does her thing. She got her thing for disrespecting her mom. She got on. She's popping. And if she did what she did, it'll be written off for her being young. She's not even 18 yet, I don't believe. So they're like, she's young, she's dumb, blah, blah, blah. Her fan base will grow with her from 14 to 21 at the most. If she doesn't change, she's out of here. Same thing goes for Cardi B. If you don't change your professional persona, you're out of here because your fan base becomes adults. They grow up and they realize some of the things you do are childish and dumb and you shouldn't be doing them. Or back to what I said before, a lot of moms you wouldn't want your daughter acting like this person, regardless of how much you like her or how much you think she's entertaining. A lot of moms will not like their child to act like Cardi B. Like if that was your child, your that persona all the time, disrespectful and all that stuff like that, you'll have a problem on your hands. You will not feel it to be something like you won't be comfortable. You'll probably feel bad as a parent. Like where did I go wrong? So yeah, her fan base will be fine. Her fan base will be a-okay, but her pockets will take a hit, in my opinion. What else we got? Let's talk real quick. Post Malone. So we all know he's in car accidents and things like that. So a video came out of him messing with what people who are in this, like the paranormal activity realm, they deem it to be the most haunted object on the planet. It's this wine cabinet. It's called I'm probably gonna slur it. It's called like the Diebuck box or the Diebuck box or whatever it's called. So wine cabinet and a Diebuck is what they consider to be like a very malicious, entity that can actually even possess the living. So people are like, damn, that's why he keep always getting all these near-death experiences and stuff like that. And if you believe in those type of things, we can talk about it at a later date. I just found it interesting because when they showed the video, it is kind of like a creepy video. There's no real audio, but you see it, and I had to actually research and look into what this thing actually was before I spoke about it, because I do believe in like paranormals and things like that. It's just certain things you don't mess with, and I'm not like it. It doesn't all make sense, but it kind of like it makes you think about things differently. Like, oh man, that could be the reason. That could be the reason. So I just found that kind of interesting that he was actually bothering something like that. Of course, it was in the museum, but it's weird. Like, don't mess with things you don't know. That's my main thing. Like, don't mess with like paranormal things, even if you think it's a joke. I don't do the Ouija board thing and all that kind of stuff because you don't know. You really don't know, and a lot of these things have very dark history, and new things are being discovered and figured out every day in science and religion and all that stuff like that. So you want to tread lightly. But let's move on. We're going to close out with this pretty soon, but I want to talk about it. There's a clothing company called Revolve. And they ran a campaign with a lot of entertainers. And they put on like shirts and sweaters. A lot of the bad things people would say to them via the internet. But it was one that really caused an uproar. And the shirt said, and I quote, let me get it here. It said, "Being fat is not beautiful. It's an excuse." Now, if you don't know the background to that, then of course, all of the movements involved are going to be in an uproar. And they're going to go crazy. And they're going to be like, damn, how could you say that? And blah, blah, blah. And the Me Too movement, the feminists, and the people for big people, whatever it's called. And they're going to say stuff like that. And I get it. But it came from an actress, I believe, entertainment, or plus-size model, I think she was, named Lena. I can't pronounce her last name, Paloma or something. I don't know. I could be wrong. And it was something that someone said to her directly via the internet. And she took that and they put it on the sweater. Two things was wrong with what people said. The sweater was put on a thin model. Their whole website is full of thin models. And people were in uproar over the quote itself. And it's like, come on. First, you need to find out where it comes from, because I don't think any company is going to come out and say it like that. Even fitness companies, I haven't seen it. And I work in fitness, but I've never seen someone just outright come out and be like, if you're fat and this is an excuse, you know what I'm saying? Be like, let's figure it out. Let's figure out, why you think you're overweight, why you think you're unhealthy. We're going to work, let's figure out a way to make it better. Let's figure out a way to fix your health. So, knowing the backstory behind that, knowing why it was put on the shirt and things like that, I don't feel upset about it. at all. I'm not saying I agree with the quote or disagree with the quote. It just doesn't upset me because we've moved to an area where everybody's so hard and everybody's a gangster and nothing really affects you and this and the third. But as soon as something posted on the internet and it gets under your skin, then you're the softest thing on the planet and it's wrong. You shouldn't say that to people and people got feelings and yeah. But I'm skinny. I've been called fucking bony my entire life. I never wanted to do like anything. And people always say, but being fat and being skinny is not the same thing. I would rather be skinny than fat and all this other stuff. Then you got some big people say I would rather be big than skinny. But at the same time, you're looking at it like it's not about the size you are. It's about like your own self-confidence and things like that. And what can you do to change it? If I wanted to gain weight and I wanted to get bigger, I'll eat and I'll be in the gym all the time. I mean, I'm in the gym all the time because of my profession. But I don't gain weight. I don't really get too bigger like as far as like muscular and things like that because of my type of fitness. But you have an option. Everyone has an option. Instead of just feeling bad for yourself and trying to call for movement, if you're comfortable with yourself, be comfortable with yourself, and things like that shouldn't affect you. But if you're uncomfortable with yourself, you have all the means in the world to change it. There's so many resources at your fingertips, so much information now. We're in the information age, and you don't have to live in that. You know, if you're ashamed about you being a bigger person, you can change that. If you're ashamed about being a thinner person, you can change that. Naturally. It's not even like you gotta go and get surgery. You don't have to do that. You can literally hit the gym. Both of you, fat people and skinny people, can hit the gym and change their size, change their shape. I'm just tired of all of the movements that go on because we fight so hard to be, I'm not going to say we. No, I'll say we. As humans. We have fought so hard to be equal. We have fought so hard. Everything is about an equal right for this. We should be treated equal for this. I'm fat, I'm black, I'm gay, I'm not. I'm a female, I'm a male. All these things people are fighting for to be looked at as equal. And then when you start getting treated like an equal person, something's wrong. You got to create a new movement. I want to be equal, but don't talk to me like that. You be like, what? You know what I'm saying? So I can bust on the skinny kid in the back of the classroom, but I can't bust on the fat one in front of the classroom. Now, because it's fat shaming. Body shaming is body shaming, in my opinion. But now fat shaming is a thing. Like, don't do it. You can't fat shame because it can create depression and people become suicidal and all this stuff like that. And I'm like, that's with anybody. That's a mental thing. Wherever your mentality stands, how strong you are mentally to endure some of these things, it don't have anything to do, in my opinion. And like, I don't think there's like the breaking point. They like that was the breaking point right there. Everyone's talking about this person being this size. To me, that's bullshit. For the most part, the issue is way more. It's a lot deeper rooted than that, in my opinion. Why do we always find something else to make a movement about, but we still want to be involved in everything else? Like, I understand the Me Too movement. I know what it's about. I know why it was created. Or I think I know, in my understanding. And I get the main thing about that. As far as how people have been treated, majority in the entertainment profession, when you're a female, to get certain roles and things like that, the things that have been requested of those people. And yeah, that shit's wrong and it's disgusting. Yes, I agree. That's disgusting. I think my disgust stops with that is if you actually went through with it and did it. That's where my disgust with it stops. If it was requested, you said no, you didn't get the position, and you came out about it immediately, then it's disgusting. If you said yes, I'll do that. Hey, Mr. Producer, this like as a female actress, hey, Mr. Producer, I want to be in your movie, and they're like, yeah, give me a little something, and we'll talk about it. And if you were like, all right, it's not that bad, I'll give up my body for this part because I want it that bad, and you do it. Once you say yes, I'm no longer disgusted in that because you had the option to say no. And at that time, you also had the option of reporting that person when it happened. I'm not a fan of the coming out years later that this happened to you after you made $1 million off of something or millions of dollars off of something. And you're like, yeah, when I had to get that role, I had to suck the producer's dick. And then you're like, well, why the fuck didn't you say that 10 years ago when the movie dropped? You know what I'm saying? So it's weird. I don't like that part of it. I do like the fact that people are speaking up, but don't speak up a decade later, man. Say that shit when they come out of the fucking trailer like, yo, this nigga in here is wildin'. Do that. Be bold about that shit. Don't pass tense me with, or when somebody about to fucking die or some other person speak up 20 years later, you want to speak up about something that happened 5 years earlier. Like, don't do that. You want to stand up for something, you want to be about something, be about it when it happens. That's my only problem with a lot of these movements because everything is always in the aftermath. It's always like, yeah, well, it happened. I was 17. I'm 42 now. You'd be like, what the fuck are you I don't care no more. Wrong or nasty, whatever the case may be, I don't care no more because you didn't say nothing then. Why are you saying something now? And everybody always like, well, some people be scared or they be ashamed or they don't want the public shaming them and stuff like that. If you're 42 now, if something that happened when you were 17 would have came out, it would not have been as big as if it came out today if you're 17 and some nasty shit happened. Social media is way too big. Back then it was not. There was no social media. Not on this level. So to do it now and say you were scared back then of what the public would think about you, you have to be lying. Because now the public is going to think you're a hero now because you get more people to tune in or you get more people to relate who have similar stories about regular fucking jobs. If you had to fucking suck a dick to get a role in some movie that ended up grossing $200 million or whatever the case may be, imagine about the people, the women who are out here doing shit like that for a regular job so they can get a job to feed their kids. And neither one is right. Neither one is right at all. But what I'm saying is happening. It happens. And they don't say anything. Or if they do say something, they say something. But there are people who do it. You always have the option to say no. Always. Unless it's rape. Unless it's somebody drugged you and stuff like that. If they give you an option, if you want this, do this for me, and you say yes and do it, they're nasty for requesting. You're nasty for partaking. That's how I look at it. I can't sympathize. I can't be like, well, she didn't want to mess up her career by not doing it. Man, fuck that. Nah, that shit don't fly with me. Don't fly with me. Nah, you're going to have to step that up. Don't do it. That's my thing. All these movements, get yourself together, man. So, in rapping, 2 weeks in on State of the Culture. Last week I wasn't too big on it. It didn't really impress me. This week it got a little better. I'm still not all in. I still think it can get better. They did hang on to topics a little longer this time at coming, back around to the conversations out of the commercial break, so to speak. They did hold on to topics a little longer, but I don't think, I'm still not fully all in. I'm not fully impressed on it, but it is getting better. So I hope it continues to improve. And then, I'm going to watch because I'm a fan of Joe. And, again, I hope he succeeds in everything that he's doing in life. But I just need better content, I don't know. That format still really isn't flying with me so much. But they're getting it together. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. This was highly flavored episode number 4. Again, I am your host Eddie Royal, and I am so glad. Thank you to the guys who tuned in on the Instagram live and the people who watched through on the Facebook live. You guys get it firsthand, the raw version, just in case anything ever goes wrong, and I'm editing and cutting things out of my content when I post it to SoundCloud and YouTube. You guys get all of the crap. But this episode went smooth, so nothing's getting cut out or edited. We're just chopping down the beginning and the end and putting it up, and it'll be out tonight. So if you're in Philly, guys, be safe out here. Enjoy your rainy day. If you're anywhere else and it's super sunny and it's warm and you're out on the baby on the beach, fuck you. Yeah, and I'm going. Highly flavored episode 4, guys. See ya.